This is the original podcast edition of The Guild of the Cowry Catchers by Abigail Hilton, now part of the complete Pirates of Wefrevane series. The books are available as audiobooks, ebooks, and paperbacks. This podcast originally aired from 2010 to 2014. Stick around after the story for commentary from me, the author, more than a decade later. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers, a story of pirates in Panamindorah. Written, narrated, and produced by Abigail Hilton. Book 5, Shores Beyond the World. Warning: this novel was intended for people who shop in the grown-up section of the bookstore. If you need to ask whether you will be offended, you probably will. Episode 12. Chapter 34. Avanyar.
All of the island deities call themselves male. This is curious. I suspect they are hermaphroditic. If there are female wyverns, they keep themselves well hidden. It has been hypothesized that they reproduce by breeding with the temple priestesses. While this makes a good campfire story to horrify listeners, it is too ridiculous to be believed. Gwaine. The truth about wyverns.
Gerard went looking for a bath after that, careful to avoid the windows in the suite. Michelle and Jaleel had brought 2 of the palace servants with them, both of whom had known Gerard since childhood. They greeted him warmly, and he asked after their wives, children, and grandchildren. When he was clean and dressed again, he returned to the dining table and found Sylvia writing notes to Jaleel and his father. Michelle was shaking his head.
We can try to tell them, but they will not believe us. They will believe that we are trying to deceive them for some gain, or that we ourselves have been deceived. They will want to know the source of such information.
You're talking about trying to warn the Grishnard kings that the gods are going to help the fauns kill them?
Silvio nodded.
Gerard, ask your father and brother if they'd be willing to send their servants door to door with messages. The messages must be delivered anonymously.
Gerard repeated this. Michelle frowned.
What messages?
Silvio fidgeted. Finally, he pulled from an inside pocket of his coat a carefully wrapped parcel in oilskin. He unwrapped it, and Gerard recognized the bundle of letters that he'd seen beneath the false bottom of the drawer that had contained Silvio's little treasure chest on Manse. Gerard saw that the letters were tucked into the pages of a tiny notebook, no bigger than Silvio's palm. He reached out, and, when Silvio made no move to stop him, extricated the little book. Carefully, he turned the delicate pages. He did not recognize the writing.
It's in cipher.
Silvio, is this your assassin's journal? The one you kept when you realized you were having blank spaces?
Silvio nodded.
Every contract I took during my most desperate years. Dates, details, names.
Jaleel and Michelle had started to pick up the letters. Gerard saw his father's eyes go round. Jaleel put a hand over his mouth.
Oh, gods. Are these real?
Silvio nodded. Gerard picked up one of the letters. It was an exact description of what was to be done to a certain merchant who had apparently been wealthy enough to own an estate on Haplag. The originator of the contract was not named, but he called the target father. Gerard tried to explain.
Silvio was an assassin from the age of 12 to 17. He was the priestess's assassin, but he took other contracts too.
Jaleel stared at him.
12?
Yes, he.
Gerard hesitated.
You can tell them.
His mother sold him to a brothel on Cern when he was 7. The priestess released him at 12. She put a knife in his hand and aimed him at her enemies.
This was sufficiently sordid that neither Jaleel nor Michelle seemed to have any idea what to say. Gerard glanced at his father.
Silvio wants me to tell you that he's sorry he was so uncivil when you met.
Michelle looked at Silvio.
I realize you were trying to protect my son.
He says he's afraid you would find him uncivil even when he wasn't.
Michelle smiled.
I have never known Gerard to love someone who was not a good person.
Silvio looked much astonished. Gerard rolled his eyes.
He says, I think everyone's a good person. Silvio, that's not true. Almost everyone? Well, almost everyone is.
Jalil held up a piece of paper.
According to this, the heir to the throne of Haplag is not the son of Lord Haplag, but of Lord Cern. I wonder how Lord Haplag would handle that information, as he's currently providing a refuge for the entire court of Cern.
Silvio nodded.
I was paid a large sum of money by Lady Haplag and later Lord Cern to make sure the affair did not become known. At the time, it would have cost the lady her life and probably provoked civil war between the two kingdoms. The child would have perished as well. I understand he's now a thriving prince, much loved by his father. Well, by his king, at least. I had to kill 2 ladies and a prominent healer in order to keep him that way. The healer was actually stupid enough to try to blackmail Lord Cern. One of the ladies whose unfortunate knowledge put her on my to-do list happened to be the younger sister of Lady Leliani of the Small Kingdoms. The other was cousin to Lord Mance and part of the extended royal family in Masia.
Gerard repeated all of this. Michel had an expression of extreme distaste, but he was listening.
Well, that's a volatile piece of information,
said Jalil.
Can you prove it?
Silvio shrugged.
I wouldn't have to. Some Shelts had reason to be suspicious. I could list times, dates, details about the bodies. If I provided this information and the explanation for the events to the right persons, it would provoke investigation and accusation. The truth would become apparent enough to Shelts to create conflict across multiple kingdoms.
Silvio gave a tight little smile.
You would not believe how much business a good assassin can get from the royal families. Lord Lecklock had an intense affair with one of the younger daughters of a Masian noble. She became pregnant, and since she was of royal blood, she might insist on something special for the child. I was hired to make her disappear. Her sister married the younger brother of Lord Masia, who recently inherited the throne. I cannot imagine that Lady Masia would look kindly upon this information.
Silvio ran a finger through the papers.
It wasn't all about children. There were a couple of prominent royal advisors who were thought to be giving kings the wrong advice. Those were tricky. In one case, I was supposed to make the person go mad.
Michel listened to Gerard with a pained expression.
I do not understand how circulating this information will be any better than the fawns throwing the islands into war. This will produce the same effect.
Silvio shook his head.
I don't mean to circulate it. I mean to threaten to.
Everyone considered this.
Tell them they must leave at once or find their darkest secrets in the hands of their friends and enemies,
said Jalil thoughtfully.
That might work. You would have to choose carefully what you said. It would need to be completely anonymous.
At that moment, one of the servants came into the room.
The, person who helped last night is in the sitting room again. He wishes to speak with Gerard.
Gerard glanced up. He'd meant to ask about this person and forgot.
Silvio, do you know who he is?
Silvio snorted.
I have a guess. Go on, see what he has to say. He seems to be on our side for the moment. I'll see if I can get some blackmail in order.
Feeling no more enlightened, Gerard followed the servant into the sitting room. He found a tall, black-haired Grishnard, elegantly dressed in crimson and gold. He had a gold earring in one ear and looked like nothing so much as a pirate king. His eyes were black, with the faint sheen of a raven's wing. Gerard stammered something to the servant, something about leaving them alone. The stranger watched him with a quizzical smile.
I see you are better,
he purred.
Wormwood, it is a well-kept secret.
You're...
began Gerard.
You may call me Avignard. It's what they used to call me 300 or 400 years ago.
Avignard. You're Dakar's father.
Avignard looked at him blankly.
Maven,
said Gerard.
Ah!
His eyes lit, and he clapped his hands.
Thought you didn't know how to shift.
Oh, one remembers eventually. I have been asleep for some years.
He yawned.
Thank you for saving my life.
My daughter would have been distraught if I had not. She wishes to travel with you.
Does this displease you?
Avignard shook his head.
She must learn about the world. She has chosen you as her conduit. It will be good for her to see things outside of Wefrevane. Maven could remain with you for all your days and then come back here and rule an island. I tried to tell her this. I forgot how young she is. The knowledge that you and Silvio and her other friends would grow old and die distressed her very much.
Ah.
Gerard remembered how quiet Dakar had been when she'd first come back to the ship.
She is young,
repeated the wyvern.
She can wander the earth before she nests. Perhaps it will make her different from her mother.
Do wyverns have children often? Does Dakar have many siblings?
Avignard laughed.
You shelts. Your females come into season once or twice a year, but a female wyvern comes into season only once in 100 years. I do not think Maven has any full siblings in the islands. Her mother.
Avignard scratched his head. Gerard had the feeling that he'd reminded someone only half sane of a disturbing and painful memory.
I'm sorry,
he said quickly.
I did not mean to.
No. It's useful for you to know these things, as you will be traveling with my daughter. She will likely not come into her first season, of course, in your lifetime, but she needs to understand that it puts her in danger. When wyverns mate, we can absorb each other, just as we absorb clothes or weaker minds. The weaker wyvern is in danger when wyverns mate.
And you were the weaker wyvern,
thought Gerard.
She didn't kill you, but she took something.
Avignard gave a long, melancholy sigh.
We are the loneliest creatures in the world, Gerard. We are only perfectly understood by one another, but we quarrel, and we do not trust each other. We find it easier to take shelts and talking beasts as lovers. They pose no danger to us, but they have such short lives. It is difficult to keep caring about them when they keep dying.
Gerard thought that Avignard had, perhaps, forgotten that he was talking to one.
Female wyverns are not often fertile, but male wyverns may produce half-breed offspring more frequently. Maven does have half-siblings in the islands, though I have lost track of them all. Some are secondary deities in my temple.
Gerard was fascinated.
Can the half-breeds change shape?
The wyvern shrugged.
Many can change shape only when a skilled telepath touches them and effects the change. Others can master one or two shapes by themselves. They have shorter lives than wyverns, and they are easier to kill.
He gave an odd little giggle.
How large they grow also depends on their non-wyvern blood. Mapali of Haplag once took it into his head to live as a songbird for a season. This resulted in 6 tiny wyverns who never grew larger than ocelot kittens and chirped as often as they spoke. Morchella told him that the sight of such creatures would cause Shelts to lose all respect for us. She said that if he did it again, she would find she had a hunger for songbirds.
Avignard's voice grew sober.
Morchella has made it a practice to go around the islands and collect half-breeds at a young age. Depending on their abilities and favored shapes, she gives them temples of their own, or lets them serve as priestesses or secondary deities.
Gerard wondered how long he could keep Avignard talking.
Can the half-breeds reproduce?
Avignard shrugged.
Sometimes, not usually.
Gerard told him about what had happened to Pharrell.
Ah, my daughter is very talented.
Avignard took a few steps back and forth. Gerard noticed that his tail seemed to have too many joints.
Your friend probably had some wyvern blood. A quarter? An eighth? Just enough for Maven to shape his substance. She could not have done this with a full-blooded Schelt.
He rubbed his hands.
This is very difficult, though, even upon a mixed breed of diluted blood. Oh, she is a powerful telepath.
Gerard racked his brain for more questions while Avignard was in a talkative mood. He wished Gawain were here.
How many full-blooded wyverns are there in the islands?
Only 5, the gods of the great islands. They are all male, except Morchella. There used to be 2 other females, but she killed them.
Gerard could not tell what Avignard thought about this.
She does not want more full-blooded wyverns. She believes this is all the islands can support. I am not sure what she will do to Maven when she comes of age.
Gerard understood better then why Avignard was willing to let Dakar sail with them. He wanted to ask Avignard what he thought of Morchella, whether it was loneliness or fear or madness that had prompted him to produce a daughter with her, whether he approved of her tyranny of the islands, whether he loved her. However, Gerard decided that he did not know the wyvern well enough to ask these questions, and he did not want to risk angering him.
If he wasn't willing to defy her, he wouldn't have saved my life. He wouldn't have sent his wyverns, his children, I suppose, Dakar's half-siblings, to escort Dakar back to our ship.
Gerard had a growing sense of urgency.
Avignard, we're grateful for all you've done. Could you tell me what's happened to Gawain Masia and the Schelts who came with him?
The fawns have put them in a cage. I think they are planning to burn them tonight, or perhaps Morchella means to devour them. I am not sure which.
Gerard was sure, then, that Avignard was not quite sane. No sane person could claim to be a friend and then speak of such things with indifference. Gerard chose his words carefully.
Then may I ask one more favor of you? Would it be possible for you to keep Morchella and her wyverns away from the lodge today and this evening? I think we can handle the fawns, but not wyverns, and not with Morchella pulling strings.
Avignard considered. He laughed.
She won't like that.
Can you do it? Will you? For Dakar? For her friends who love her and want to take her away from Wefervain?
I will try. But you should complete your business as quickly as possible. I'm not sure how long I can do what you ask.
Gerard nodded. He was beginning to see a way out of this, and he felt a flood of gratitude and relief.
Thank you, Avignard. I'll tell your daughter. I think she will be proud.
Chapter 35. Serengale.
Gazelle, with their small, delicate bone structure, are of little use to Grishnauds, except as interesting quarry. Only Gazamel children are small enough to ride their animal counterparts, and they traditionally spend much of their childhoods with the herd before moving into adult Schelt society. It is not uncommon for Grishnauds hunting gazelle to shoot a child by accident. Gawain, the non-Grishnauds of Wefervain.
When Gerard returned to the dining table, he found Silvio, Jalil, and Michelle putting the finishing touches on 20 short notes, 5 for the kings of the great islands, and 15 for the small kingdoms, who were known to be in attendance. There were 3 tiny kingdoms, which Jalil and Michelle did not think were present. In addition, the lords and executors of some of the large holdings of the great islands had also come, and they were just as important as the small kingdoms.
But this should get things started,
said Silvio.
I think if guests start leaving, especially the parties from the great islands, it will trigger a mass exodus.
The 2 servants from Hollivaris would deliver the notes personally. They were instructed to slide them under the proper doors without being seen. The notes were addressed to the king or queen alone. Even if a servant did open them, the contents were worded so that a stranger would make little of them. After this was finished, Silvio had a hard time convincing Gerard to stay in the apartment and wait.
If Gawain and the others were alive this morning, they'll likely be alive for the next quarter watch. Soon the fawns will have something else to worry about. Wait.
I think it's time for you to get your griffins and fly back to your ship.
Gerard told his father and brother.
I'll see you on Holivaris. If not, you'll get a second copy of my letter. I ordered it delivered in the event of my death.
Jaleel looked offended.
You think you're the only one who can use a sword, Gerard?
Gerard had been afraid this might happen.
Jaleel, you have a wife and will soon have a child. You have a kingdom.
Jaleel opened his mouth to argue, and Gerard said, almost under his breath,
And if things go badly here, our father does not need to lose 2 sons.
Jaleel still argued after that, but without much conviction. A quarter of a watch later, Lord Holivar, Jaleel, and their 2 servants had packed their bags. They hugged Gerard goodbye, and Jaleel bent and hugged Silvio. Then they were gone. Gerard paced the empty apartment. He told Silvio everything he could remember of his rambling conversation with Avinyar and what the wyvern had promised to do for them. Silvio frowned.
Sounds almost too easy, doesn't it?
Something was definitely happening outside. They heard shouting once, and twice someone ran past their door. Once someone hammered on it, but when they did not get an answer, the person went away.
Wait.
Silvio kept saying.
Gerard, wait.
The instant the light had begun to fade, Gerard threw open the door, and they stepped into the hall. He could only hope that most of the kings had taken their leave. He could only hope that the lodge and its environs were now free of Morcella's wyverns. The fawns should be puzzled and off balance.
I hope.
Gerard knew the location of at least one set of cages that he'd found during his last visit. He strode along the corridor, thinking of how to get there. He saw that the wyvern's carcass had been removed, although its blood still stained the floorboards. He descended to the first landing with Silvio pattering behind him, and they reached the ground without encountering another Shelt. At this point, they almost collided with 2 Zeds, coming in the opposite direction. They were each carrying a sloshing barrel of what might have been ale. Far from seeming suspicious or asking questions, they looked frightened and hurried away, whispering to each other. Silvio's nostrils twitched. He stared after them.
What is it? Asked
Gerard, but Silvio only shook his head. Gerard rounded the building. Across a courtyard, he saw the main hall of the great lodge. A knot of trees had been cut down in the center of the courtyard. In the midst of the stumps stood the largest monument that Gerard had ever seen, piled round with kindling. If Gawain's research was accurate, then it had once been covered in gold or copper, but that had long since been stripped away. Only ancient black metal remained, rusting and hacked, but still recognizable as a pair of brooding wings. The smooth, mottled colors and contours of driftwood made an odd contrast around the monument's base. Gerard stiffened. Among the torches burning in front of the main hall, he saw tall stakes on which bodies had been impaled.
Oh no.
He crossed the courtyard at a half-run. Silvio protested loudly in his head.
Gerard, what are you doing? This is the worst place to go. We need to be hiding. Gerard!
The corpses were clearly Grishnard's. Gerard thought for one horrified moment that they were the king's. But then he recognized one, and felt sick again for a new reason. They were police. Probably sent by Morcella to collect Gawain, Gerard, and Silvio. Gerard had recruited a couple of them himself.
Of course. Morcella meant to betray them as well, all her Grishnard servants.
One was Arundel. A fly crawled across his sightless eyes. Gerard was about to turn away when Silvio caught his hand, ears pricked.
Perhaps this was a good idea after all. I think maybe Gawain didn't wait to be rescued.
Gerard followed him up the steps in the twilight. As they stepped into the foyer, Gerard could hear angry voices. The doors of the main hall were open. The room beyond was full of fawns, and, at the center, he could hear an angry debate. Silvio's hand tightened on Gerard's as they started into the crowd. The fawns were armed. Male and female, they were wild, lean-muscled creatures, with clothes made of leather and fur, and buttons and clasps of bone. They had bone jewelry and teeth sewn into their clothes. Their leather garments were stitched with scenes of torture and death.
A revenge cult. Merida wasn't joking.
There were a sprinkling of non-Grishnard Panons as well. Ocelons and foxlings and the occasional Leopon, but they were mostly fawns. Silvio crowded against his leg.
Gerard, if they see you...
However, the fawns were so focused on the center of the room that they took no notice of Gerard or Silvio. Many of them stood on chairs or tables to see better. They were alternately whispering to each other and straining to hear. Gerard was taller than most of the fawns, and he soon spotted the shelts at the center. One was Gawain. He looked a little worse for wear. Gerard suspected his captors had beaten him. Nevertheless, he was standing well enough and arguing passionately. He spoke as much to the crowd of fawns as to the proud Zed warrior across from him.
You don't have to do this. There is still time. Defend your homes. Offer help to those trying to restore peace. This is your chance to gain respect and win your freedom, but not at the price of enslaving yourselves to wyverns.
The Zed was perhaps 10 or 15 years older than Gawain, but very much in her prime. She was wearing a cape made of 2 Grishnard skins and a necklace of teeth and bones. She held a spear in her hand. Near the tip, where some shelts placed decorative feathers, she'd tied a limp, tufted tail. It flapped and dangled as she waved the spear.
We have been eaten, skinned, hunted, beaten, blinded, castrated, flogged, worked to death, killed for sport, raped for pleasure, and mutilated for entertainment.
With each accusation, the crowd gave a little snarl. Her speech had the cadence of a chant that had been delivered many times before.
There can be no forgiveness, no quarter, no mercy, no alliance with Grishnards.
Gawain looked exasperated.
So you will do the same? How will that make you any better?
Better?
Hissed Sarangale.
There is no better. There is only winner and loser. They have grown weak, while we have grown strong. We can take their palaces and cities and ships. We do not need to be content with dirt and ashes any longer.
Take their temples, you mean? So you can have the privilege of offering yourselves at Moon Festival? So that you can move at the beck and call of wyverns? So that you can be their new lackeys?
Everyone knows that the dominant species are the least likely to be offered as sacrifices. The wyverns currently eat far more fawns than Grishnards. We will change their diet.
Gawain shook his head.
If you do this, you will know for all your days that you did not succeed because you were better or wiser or smarter.
He looked around at the fawns.
You will know that you succeeded only because a bully and a tyrant grew tired of her old toys and reached for new ones. One day you will no longer be shiny and new, and you or your descendants will suffer her treachery as well. You will know that you had a chance to make the world better, and you traded it for petty revenge.
This is fool's talk!
Sarangale began a new litany of abuses, but the fawns weren't entirely listening. They were whispering among themselves. Gerard guessed that Gawain had been allowed to speak because a significant number of the fawns supported him, or at least wished to hear what he had to say. However, there were not enough to overcome the war-minded party. That was why the debate continued. It would end the moment they reached a tipping point. Gerard did not think it would end in Gawain's favor.
I don't know how you did it,
snarled Sarangale.
But I am certain your treachery is the reason the Grishnard kings have fled. You will pay for this.
You had me in a cage, Gale,
said Gawain quietly.
I had nothing to do with that. I am on your side, though you won't believe it.
The Zed shook her gleaming black and white hair.
Then prove it. Help us with swords, not words.
Gerard heard the fawns around him whispering.
The gods are not here. The Grishnards have escaped. The gods never meant to help us. We're all doomed.
Gerard had finally reached a point near the center of the room. He caught sight of Serwyn staring at him across the open space. Serwyn mouthed the words, "Get out." Silvio saw it and said instantly,
He's right, Gerard. This is a terrible place to be a Grishnard.
We don't need to burn the Grishnard kings today,
Sarangale was saying.
We will kill them in their own beds before the red moon wanes. We will cross to the mainland tonight and attack. We will be victorious. The gods are on our side.
An uncertain cheer went up from the watching fawns.
For all of you who do not want to spend your lives fighting Grishnards and serving wyverns, my ships are on the far side of Measure 81. We have 9 ships and plenty of room. You can collect your families and meet me there.
Gawain turned and made to stride out of the hall. Some of the fawns parted for him, but some did not. The murmuring in the room escalated.
Where are your gods?
Shouted Gawain.
Answer me that! They have deserted you. Perhaps they never meant to help you. Perhaps they are bringing the Grishnards here to kill you as we speak. Come with me. I'm going somewhere safe.
The crowd parted. Serengale screamed after him.
Half Grishnard! You are always tainted!
Gawain kept walking. The crowd rippled and stirred. Gerard could not be sure, but he thought that many of them moved towards the door. Serengale gave a high, angry laugh.
And how do you expect to leave, traitors?
On Pegasus!
Someone shouted back.
Before you get us all killed.
We are going to Masia Major, or nowhere at all.
Silvio's hand tightened suddenly in Gerard's.
Gerard, out! We've got to get out!
Someone in the crowd screamed.
Smoke! I smell smoke!
There was a stampede for the door. Gerard scooped Silvio up to keep him from being trampled. They were carried along through the foyer and down the steps. Gerard smelled the smoke and heard the roar before he reached the courtyard. He thought.
All the buildings are made of wood.
He thought.
I know it was in those barrels the two Zeds were carrying.
He thought.
The way to keep soldiers from turning back on foreign soil is to burn the ships.
The ships were the Pegasus. Chapter 36. Pegasus.
Ancient Firebird monuments were fashioned from any number of substances, but most were overlaid with copper or gold. Occasionally, the monuments were made of wood with gold paint. One may ask how these monuments were lit without destroying them. The answer is unclear. Gawain, the non-Grishnards of Weferfane.
2 buildings over from the main hall, a lodge was billowing flame. Even the dry, old wood should not have burned so quickly.
Unless it was doused with lamp oil.
Over the sound of the fire came the screaming of frightened animals trapped inside. Fawns were screaming too.
Are you mad?
Gerard saw a Xavier punch a Zed in the face.
No, now is not the time to fight with each other.
But that was what they were doing. Weapons were drawn. Zeds, Xavier, Gazumel, Foxlings, Ocelons, and Leopons were bellowing accusations at each other over the background roar of the burning lodge and the shriek of dying Pegasus. Gerard felt paralyzed, helpless. He realized next moment that Silvio had left his side. He was running towards the burning building, and then Gerard was running after him.
They can't be in the upper stories.
Silvio's voice sounded calm, and that helped.
They'd already be dead. I bet they're in the basement. They've smelled the smoke, and that's all. If these stupid fawns would stop fighting, they could get them out.
Gerard and Silvio ran around the building, looking for a way inside. The Pegasus were definitely in the basement. A grill about a hand's height from the ground showed their frightened faces and rolling eyes, shoving and kicking frantically at the metal lattice. Gerard heard a roar and looked out to see the roof of the lodge cave into the upper floor.
That's what will kill them, the building collapsing.
Several of the fawns, mostly Xavier, obviously had the same idea. Gerard nearly ran into one as he came around the back of the building.
Where's the entrance?
He shouted at the fawn.
How do we get in?
The fawn didn't seem to notice that Gerard was a Grishnard, or perhaps it wasn't important anymore.
Down here!
He panted.
But the Zeds have ruined the door.
The entrance to the basement was in a broad stairwell, and the door was made of steel. 4 fawns were struggling with it. The knob had been smashed, bent, and the locking mechanism hopelessly warped. The hinges had been beaten into a solid mass, the screws ruined. Nevertheless, the fawns had succeeded in opening the door a fraction. A thin plume of smoke trailed from within. In their desperation, the fawns were hacking at the metal with their swords, which did nothing but dull the blades. Overhead, the entire upper story of the building fell with a roar and a shower of sparks.
Back!
Bellowed Gerard.
Let me try.
They obeyed him. They probably would have obeyed anyone who shouted at them and acted like he might have a solution. Gerard touched the door. It was warm, but not yet scalding. He eased his fingers into the open crack, got a good grip, and began to pull. At first, nothing happened, but he thought he felt something give, just a little. He braced himself and pulled harder. His arms and back burned. He thought of pushing a windlass. He thought of rowing with broken ribs. He pulled. There was a hideous grinding shriek as the bottom of the door gouged a tiny crescent over the stone paving. The fawns began to cheer, but the door stopped after only a few finger breaths. Gerard set his teeth. He could feel sweat running between his shoulder blades, every muscle straining. Gerard began to see spots. Then someone else was beside him. Serwyn. They were both pulling, and the door moved again. A little bit, and a little bit. They stopped and crouched, panting. Someone was patting Gerard on the back, encouraging him.
But it's not enough. Not enough for Pegasus to get through. Not enough for Fawn to get through. We'll try again in a moment.
He glanced up just in time to see Silvio wriggling through the narrow space.
No!
Shouted Gerard, but Silvio was already away into the blackness.
I can do this, Gerard. Trust me.
That might work,
panted Serwyn. Overhead, the second story fell. Sparks showered down around them. That left only the ground floor.
If we can't open it from the outside, how can he open it from the inside?
Demanded Gerard.
He can't, but the Pegasus might. I think they've been crowded into cages. They can't get to the door.
As though to demonstrate this point, there was a terrific thump. The door dented visibly and jumped on its frame. The Shavier cheered, and everyone ran back a pace. Another thump, and then the whole door shuddered. A third, and it flew off its hinges, folded almost in half. A huge red and gray Pegasus charged out of the door, trumpeting his excitement and relief. Another emerged, and then they were pouring out. Serwyn turned to Gerard. He had dried blood on the side of his face and a black eye.
Gerard, Myrte is hurt. I think she'll live, but we've got to get her back to the ship. The police almost killed Marlowe. They nearly beat him to death. He needs a healer. I'm going to see if I can grab one of these Pegasus for them. If you and Silvio can't find a Pegasus to carry you, get down to the beach. We'll send out flyers to look for anyone who's trying to reach us.
Gerard nodded, and Serwyn raced away. Pegasus continued to pour through the door, sometimes struggling with each other in the narrow entrance. Gerard could hear cheering from the courtyard around the monument, the sky overhead filled with darting bodies, colorful feathers and sparks. Gerard thought he should ask a Pegasus to wait, but he did not know their names, and they were wild with fright. He thought that Silvio must be flat against a wall in there, trying to keep from getting trampled. He waited, watching the fire nervously, until no more Pegasus emerged.
Silvio!
Gerard frowned.
Did he come out without me seeing?
In all the flurry and swirl of feathers, there had been moments when he did not have a clear view of the door. Gerard turned around, just to make sure Silvio wasn't standing behind him. He saw no one. Even the Shavier had gone. Looking around, Gerard realized that the fire had spread to 2 neighboring buildings. Whether they wanted to stay on Masia Minor or not, everyone was getting out of the Great Lodge.
Silvio?
Gerard tried to be calm.
Maybe he's hurt. Maybe he got kicked. Maybe he's unconscious.
That made sense. It would explain why Silvio had not answered. Gerard took another look at the burning first story. It looked like it might collapse at any moment. Then he charged into the dark, smoky stairwell. After the mad glow of the firelight, it took his eyes a moment to adjust to the dim basement. He saw large cage cells to either side of a walkway. The doors had no locks, but the mechanism would be impossible for a beast to open from the inside. Faint light and ventilation came through a grill at ground level. Gerard saw nothing in the hallway. He started down the row, looking in each cell, calling as he went. When he got about halfway, he heard a noise. It was the sound of breathing. Strained, shuddering, slow. Gerard forgot completely about the burning building above his head. He could think of nothing but that noise. His heart thundered in his ears as he ran down the aisle to the last cell on the right. The door was standing open. Gerard saw a griffin with its back to him. There was a smear of blood across the floor. Gerard opened his mouth. He had intended to speak, but it came out as a moan. Alcere raised his head. His beak glistened crimson.
Looking for something, Gerard?
You have been listening to The Guild of the Cowry Catchers by Abigail Hilton. Copyright Abigail Hilton. The ebook for Cowry Catchers Book 5 includes 16 illustrations in ink and watercolor by Sarah Cloutier, as well as 13 portraits by Greensprite and 2 versions of the map by Jeff McDowell. The ebook is available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Smashwords, iBooks, and Kobo. The rest of the series is also available as illustrated ebooks, and the entire series is available in non-illustrated paper on Amazon. Visit my website at abigailhilton.com for information, including how to get 25% discounts on paper books and how to order signed books. This podcast included the vocal talents of
Nathan Lowell
as Gerard,
Norm Sherman,
as Silvio,
Chris Lester,
as Gwaine,
Big Anklovich,
as Jaleel,
Rish Outfield,
as Michelle,
Brian Lincoln,
as Serwin,
Dave Robison,
as Avanyar,
Nobilis Reed,
as a Grishnard servant,
Starla Hutchton,
as Sarangale,
Ryan Stevenson,
as Alsair,
Nobilis Reed,
John Miro,
and
Lauren Scribe Harris,
as Fawns. Sound effects for this podcast were provided by SoundSnap, the Free Sound Project, and Sound Dogs. The intro music was Grace by Beth Quist. Music for Book 5 of Cowry Catchers included selections from Digital Juice at digitaljuice.com and Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. It also included additional music from Beth Quist, Diana Rowan, Jamie Saber, and David Modica, all from magnatune.net. All the music was licensed and used according to the terms of the websites. This is a standard copyright now. This podcast is provided for your personal enjoyment only. You can download and archive the episodes for your personal use. You may not re-upload, mirror, or publicly redistribute the audio files, nor can you alter, remix, or create derivative works. Hi guys, this is 2026 Abby, coming to you with a few thoughts that will not be spoilers on the episode. Once again, that was a hell of a cliffhanger. You now know the origins of the tiny wyvern that Morchella sends as a messenger in the very first chapter, due to Avanyar's throwaway comment about the little songbird wyverns. I wanted to say that Dave Robison's performance as Avanyar was spectacular. Dave had a roundtable podcast at that time interviewing various fiction podcasters on their process and what they were doing. He has always been involved in the fiction and podcast community, and he lives not too far from me now, and sometimes we go out to dinner and talk about fiction stuff. He's a great guy. Starla Hutchton as Sarangale. Starla has a background in design, and she is no longer offering cover design services, but she did for several years. She designed all of what are currently my covers for the A.H. Lee books. So all the Incubus books, the Knight and the Necromancer books, with the exception of the Omnibus edition that is on Amazon. I am also about to embark on a Kickstarter for a really fancy edition of The Knight and the Necromancer. I will probably put some sort of advertisement in this podcast when I do that, and I'll probably put it on every single episode. Anyway, Starla designed a bunch of covers for me, and her designs performed very well. I think this was our first collaborative interaction. She is also an author in her own right, and she was an active member of the podcasting community at that time. All right, we've got one more episode of the novel proper. Then we've got one episode that is kind of a postscript bonus chapter, plus the outtakes. And that will conclude the full cast portion of this story. Obviously, a few things are going to happen next. I will speak to you again after the next episode. This is Abigail Hilton, and you have been listening to the Pirates of Wefravain saga. Join me on Patreon for early episodes, long-form interviews, forum access, personal updates, and lots of artwork, including maps and species charts. That's patreon.com/Abigail Hilton. If you want the whole story now with no interruptions and some remastering of the early books for sound quality, you can find the entire series at shop.abigailhilton.com, along with all my other novels. The audiobooks are delivered by BookFunnel. Background music was Hidden Sky by Jamie Sieber, licensed from magnatune.net circa 2014. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers podcast is an audio adaptation of the Pirates of Weffervane saga, written and produced by Abigail Hilton. Original production copyright 2010. All rights are reserved to the author.